Hello, everybody, and welcome to Motivate Your Monday. Uh, need to open up the comments over here. Just give me a second. Everything's in a different place than it normally is.
That's because I was in a Zoom. Go window to comment.
Alrighty, got those up. If you're here, you can make a comment. Let me make sure that's working. That would be really great. Jill's here. Yay. Hello, Jill. It's good to see you. People starting to come on in. I'm a little stuffed up, so I apologize. I seem to have went from allergies to some kind of a cold, so either that or it's just allergies, but who knows. I've had a little bit of a headache most of today. Hello, Marcia. It's good to see you. Happy Monday. I'm probably too late for a lot of the East Coasters tonight. They're probably already all headed to bed. So this one is probably going to get more folks from California, out west, that kind of thing. So how's everybody doing? Is everyone doing okay? Are you taking care of yourselves? Plants Only Muncher, it's good to see you. So what kinds of things have you guys been doing for the past, I don't know, several weeks that I have not seen you? I hope you've been all doing something exciting or fun or good for you. Maybe taking some spring trips, doing some spring planting, that kind of thing. Whatever makes you happy, right? We are actually home until Friday, and then we are gone for 10 days, and then we'll be home for a whole month. And it's been kind of crazy around here the past few days. Actually, since last week, it's been kind of crazy. Kathy has been working on the next Creamy book, the Creamy ebook 3, and it is in full swing. So today, I think she did somewhere right around 14 pints, I think she was talking about. And yesterday, she was taking pictures all day, and it's just... so we are in full creamy mode here. It means all the freezers have creamy pints in them. And I can just say some of them are very creative and very delicious, and you guys are going to really like them. Some of the things that I have been doing to try to take care of myself is to give myself just a little bit more time to myself, if that makes sense. I've been trying to do some things that I enjoy, and I've been getting ready for our next trip, which means, like, since we're going to Alaska, I have to dig out some warmer clothes and things like that, and I've actually been having a really good time doing it, and it's actually been a little therapeutical because I'm also going through some things while I do that too, and so that has been quite fun for me. Except for yesterday when I couldn't find my hiking boots. I did not know where they were. I was looking everywhere for my hiking boots, and I could not find them. And I was like, I thought I knew exactly where I had put them, but they were in the complete opposite place. So I think that what I had done is I'd like put them here so I'll know where they are, right? How many times have you done that? You put something somewhere so you remember where it is, and then when you go back to find it, you remember where it was before that, and then you don't remember putting it in this different place. And then you go crazy trying to find it. I ripped an entire closet apart yesterday looking for those, but finally found them. They were nowhere near the closet, and they were by a suitcase in another room where I had pre-planned last month of getting ready for this trip. So, craziness ensued. Always learning. It's good to see you. South Lake Tahoe. That is awesome. I figured that we get a lot of California people on this, or a lot of West Coasters at least, since this is a little bit later than I normally go. And like I said, I wasn't feeling 100%, but I wanted to come on and just check in with everybody and see how everybody's doing. If you've had any wins that you want to share with everybody, please go ahead and share those wins. And also, I want to remind everybody that tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern, we'll have the May Positivity Circle with Sangeeta, and she will be here to lead us in some positivity and affirmations kind of things. And so everybody should make sure to put that on their calendar to join us tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern for that. It's always a good time. Lasts about an hour. And if we're lucky, Sangeeta will sing for us at the end, which I always just, her voice is amazing, and I love it whenever she does that. I'm seeing Diana is here from Florida, I believe. Wow, you're up late. Yes. So, another late person like me. Even the cats are like looking at me like, why are we still up? Why are we not in bed? It's because I wanted to talk to you guys and see what was up. So we've had, a very, very busy April. It was Kathy's 60th birthday month. So we really did it up because when she turned 50, she wasn't feeling well. And so we really weren't able to do anything like a trip or anything like that. And so we tried to make up for it this April, and I think we did pretty good. I think we were gone 3 weeks out of the month and traveling around for her birthday. We went on 2 back-to-back Virgin cruises, and then we did several days at the new Epic Universe in Florida at the Universal Studios, which is a new theme park that is opening up on May 22nd, and they're kind of in their, if you're familiar with like restaurants and things, it's kind of like their soft opening. It's their technical run through where they open the park up to a limited number of people and they let people ride the rides and do the things so that they get an idea of what works, what doesn't work, what needs fixed, what keeps having problems and things like that. So we really enjoyed that. I thought we were only going to go for 1 day, but there was so much that we had to go a second day just so that we could see it all. So I put some videos up on the Explorer channel about that. If you guys want to see those, you can pop over there on the Plant-Based Explorers and take a look. We went live from there 1 whole day, the best that we could. And so we got a lot of like first point of view things as we were walking in and doing things like that. It was very fun. And then the next day we kind of didn't go live as much. We waited till later in the day to go live so we could just kind of absorb it ourselves and feel what the vibe was and all those kinds of things. And we really enjoyed it. We were very impressed with it and had just the best time there. It's the first time they have a section that is dedicated to classic monsters. Talking Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, Creature from the Black Lagoon, Dracula, Wolfman, right? All the classics. And as somebody who grew up watching all those black and white, Lon Chaney, a whole gang kind of movies, it's very fun to see it kind of come to life. We also saw The Invisible Man while we were there. We saw a monster hunter named Ida, she is just hilarious. And we saw Igor over there. It was very fun. And then we went to, if you've ever seen How to Train Your Dragon, then we went over to the Isle of Berk, where the How to Train Your Dragon stuff is. And we thought we were going to just walk in there just so we could show some video and show people what it looked like. And as soon as we walked in, we fell in love with that area. The theming is so immaculately done. It's so immersive, and we just had the best time in there. And they got a combination of animatronics and then real things, and it's amazing. And there's this one ride, and it's kind of a boat ride, so you're on like a Viking boat, but it's gamified, so you have to shoot like fire hoses at targets, and Kathy got soaked on that, so it was pretty funny. I didn't get as wet as she did. She thought that if she hit the targets that had the X, that all that was going to happen was there was going to be like, you know how in kids rides and stuff, they'll make like a stinky smell happen or something like that. So that's what she thought was going to happen. And then what actually happened was like a big bomb of water went off right in front of her and soaked her. So she got soaked. And it was pretty funny. But it was hot enough that she like dried like almost, by the time we walked out of there into the next place, she was already dry. I mean, it was just so hot that day. It's been really, really hot in Florida. And it was weird to us because we've spent a lot of time in the Caribbean. And yet when we get home, hey, Lisa, it's good to see you. And Diana, you're a Destin girl, huh? And when we got home from the Caribbean, it just seemed hotter than the Caribbean to us. Like, I don't know what I just can't explain it, but like it was hotter here when we got home. Like it was just hotter here than it even was in Florida, I think, like the next day. We got up and we're like, wait, what happened? Why is it hot here? So it skipped spring maybe and went right to summer here. So I don't know. It was a little cooler this evening, I think, because we had some rain. Earlier today we had thunderstorms, and I think that might have cooled it off a little bit. But yeah, it's been actually kind of hot here, and you wouldn't know it from what I have on. Like, I have sweatshirt and sweatpants on, but that's because it is creamy time, and that means we have to keep the house super cold because Kathy is on the move, and we don't want her getting overheated while she's doing all the creamy stuff. So we've got it down 68 in here maybe. I don't know, but I've been running a little bit on the hot side, on the cold side. So I have on my sweatshirt, I have on my sweatpants, and all that good stuff. But yeah, the weather has been kind of weird. So I am kind of looking forward to heading towards Alaska because I think it's going to be a little cooler there for sure. From what I understand, and if anybody is watching that is familiar with that area, from what I understand, we're probably looking at like high 40s during the day, maybe even the 50s, and then at night in the 30s is what I've been reading. We will plan for weather either direction, but that's kind of what my base wardrobe is going to go for that. And I'm looking forward to just seeing like the nature of it all, like just the beauty and things like that. And I feel like this is a good time for us to have some beauty in our lives. There's not always nice things happening right now, and there's things that make a lot of people nervous, and a lot of people have lost a lot of confidence in things that are going on and have kind of gone into a little depression. And I feel like most people go through some kind of depression at some point in their lives. They don't always recognize what it is, but it's very important to let your friends help you if you feel that way. If you're not feeling great and you feel like everything's just not quite right, maybe call up a friend or email a friend or text a friend and just get a conversation going about something that you both love, something that you guys could talk about to get your minds on something else. It's very helpful. Um, I've been, I have been in and out of depression quite a bit in my life. And you all saw me go through a huge depression when I got laid off last year. Um, you kind of saw it in action where it just kind of got worse and worse and worse. And then I started to kind of pop out of it. It wasn't like this magic just, okay, I'm all better. It took time. It took a lot of time. In fact, I would say I didn't feel amazing or 100% better until probably the first part of April. The first part of April was when I really felt like, hey, I'm going to be okay. And I just kind of leaned into things and then started to enjoy what we were doing. And just it made for a great April. And so I'm hoping that May is going to be the same way. And but it's okay to be depressed sometimes. And it's okay to work through it the way that you need to. And it's also okay if you need to get help. There's a lot of organizations right now that you can go to online. I think one of them, Kathy was mentioning to me, was betterhelp.com. And you can get some help with counselors there. They can talk to you and things like that. It's all very discreet and things. But if you don't feel that you need to go that far, just call up a friend. Sometimes we just need to have a good gut laugh and just kind of get everything back into its regular scheduled programming, right? And when things are going on in the world, it's hard sometimes to focus on that, but I encourage everybody to just take time for themselves. And yes, Jeremy, I'm trying to say we all need to take time for ourselves sometimes and introspect and think. And I know you're very good at that. So I don't worry about you so much in that respect. But you also know, everyone, if you need, like if you want to just send me an email, like to support at healthyslowcooking.com, I am happy to like listen to you. If you just need to vent or whatever, send me an email. I love that. Because sometimes venting is really good for us. Sometimes venting just kind of like gets it gone. Because when we keep stuff inside, and I'm terrible about this, I do it all the time. I will just keep stuff inside and keep stuff inside, and I won't say anything, and I won't say anything. And then, eventually that stuff's got nowhere to go except out. And when it comes out ugly and mean. And so it's better sometimes to just kind of keep that stuff coming out instead of letting it build up inside. And so I like to do that by venting. And some people are not good at listening to people vent, and some people are good at listening to people vent. So you kind of got to find your person that you can vent to. When I was working, I had one of my coworkers that I vented to all the time, and then she would vent to me, and then and it really kept us even keeled at work, because nothing really like could get us that crazy, because we had already been we were talking about it and we were venting about it, and so we kind of always stayed on an even keel. And Always Learning says, I'm fine, hoping I can make that be true. Yeah, I get that too. A lot of times Kathy will be like, what's wrong? And I'll just say, I'm fine. And she'll say, I don't believe you. And a lot of times I am just kind of fine. I'm okay. I'm not great, but I'm fine. And then other times I'm usually in a little bit worse state. And she's recognizing that and she's trying to get me to bring that out. Yet I'm just sitting there going, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, when I'm not fine. And it's okay to talk about that. And Always Learning says, I mean, that's what I do, not saying it's a good approach. Yeah, like I think we all have the I'm fine method, right? Like at some point, we're all saying, I'm fine. Just let me do my thing. I'm fine. But if somebody is asking you what's wrong, they're recognizing something's not quite right with you. And I'm trying to learn to go ahead and speak up and talk about what's bothering me because it's better for me in the long run than letting all this stuff build up. And so whenever Kathy's like, what's wrong? I'm like, instead of saying nothing or I'm fine, I'm trying to actively think about what it is. And sometimes your answer is just, I don't know. And that's an okay answer too. It's okay to not know what's bothering you. You recognize that something's bothering you. And sometimes it feels good just to say, I don't know, or I'm not sure, something, I can't put my finger on it. Maybe then sometimes they can help you figure that out. Or sometimes you just say, I don't know, I can't figure it out, but I'm working on it. And when I figure it out, I'll let you know. Because it's hard sometimes we don't always know what's really impacting us. We don't always know exactly what it is. Like I know right now, as much as I try to stay off the news and I try to stay off of Facebook and all those places, I still get, because I live in the world and there's no way I can completely isolate myself unless I go move into the woods and live off of a generator. Like I cannot completely isolate myself because of what we do from the world and the news and things like that. And so no matter how much I think that I'm avoiding it and I get all proud and I say, oh, well, I'm not watching the news and I don't care, it's still coming in these ears. I'm still seeing something. I'm hearing something. Somebody saying something. I'm at the grocery store. They're talking about it in the grocery line. It's still coming in. And our brain is still filtering that no matter how much we try to ignore it. Our brains are still filtering that stuff. And it's living rent free in your brain, jostling around in there and making you say, I don't know what's wrong. I can't quite put my finger on it because it's in there just bopping around, right? And so I've been trying to actively kind of pay attention to that stuff because what happens with me, and I'm going to be very blunt about it, is I become a complete asshole. And I don't realize that I've become a complete asshole until somebody points it out to me. And a lot of times, I put on this whole front like, oh, I'm just fine. Everything's happy. I have the happy face. Everything's good. And then what happens is I come in the house and I shut the door. And who's the person that's going to get the most impact from me? Kathy. Because she's in my sphere, right? And she's the one that's going to take the brunt of whatever kind of negativity I'm spewing. And then that doesn't work for her either, because then it's kind of like, there was this children's story when I was younger that I remember reading, and I can't remember the exact name of it, but it was kind of along the same lines of like around the time when the emperor's new clothes and stuff was very popular. And And it was just kind of like the moral of the story was that bad moods are catchy. And so this person started out in the day and they were like really grumpy. And so they went to somebody who was perfectly fine in their day, and they came across, like, say, the coffee guy, and the coffee guy's just going about his day making coffee. And then they were grumpy to the coffee guy. So now they drink their coffee and they walk away, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, I'm fine now. But now they've left the coffee guy with that grumpiness. And now the coffee guy is going to get grumpy with the next person. And then that leaves him, and he's like, oh, I'm fine now. But now this other person has it. It's like contagious. Like the negativity becomes very contagious. And even if you're in that minute, you let it go and you think, well, I'm fine now. But you've left that negativity with somebody else that now has to deal with it. And they're going to keep, and it's like, the pay it forward thing where you're paying forward all the good stuff. Well, this is kind of like negativity version of that, right? So I'm trying to make an effort in my life to not put my negative shit on somebody else. So when I go to the store or I go to the coffee shop or anything like that, or I have interaction with somebody, I try very, very hard to not let any negativity that might be spewing around inside my brain to come out onto them, because I don't want them to have to deal with a bad day because I couldn't keep my mouth shut, or I had to say something ugly, or I just had stuff in me so much that I just spewed it, right? So I'm trying very hard. And I think it goes back to the being kind thing. It's all kind of comes full circle. That we need to be kind because we don't know what somebody's going through. We don't know what kind of impact from the world they've had today, what kind of story they heard, what they read, right? We don't know. And so if we're just kind to each other, maybe we can keep that negativity from spreading, and then let the good stuff spread and the pay it forward stuff spread. Let's see. Always Learning says, I live alone and have a dog, 2 dogs, but one with really big emotions. And when she is acting super annoying, it takes me a bit, but then realize she is reacting to me and how I'm feeling. We had that with Max. Max was just super empath with us, and he was a really big super empath with Kathy especially. So if Kathy was like in kind of a heightened, kind of anxious mood, then he would get in a heightened, anxious mood. And it's like now you're on this hamster wheel of you're trying to deal with the dog who's anxious, but now you're anxious and he's feeling that anxious, and then it gets out of hand quick, right? But we all get on a hamster wheel at some point with something. And Lisa says, we are also impacted by what's happening. It's almost impossible to avoid. And that's what I'm saying. Like, no matter how hard you try, you're going to have something that gets through and starts rattling around in your brain that you're going to keep pushing down and like, I'm just going to ignore this. I'm going to ignore this. But then at some point, you're going to spew because now you've kept it all inside. So we need to do things for ourselves that help us stay even keeled. We need to do stuff to kind of not let that get pushed inside, to kind of just get it out. And I know this is going to sound crazy, but I've heard other people do this too, and I used to do this a lot when I was younger, is to walk out the back door of your house and just scream as loud as you can. And sometimes that screaming, just that physical act of just screaming, can sometimes center us a little bit. If it's so, when you're so frustrated and you just go, sometimes it can center you right back and you go, wow, that felt good. That felt good to just get that out. You haven't impacted anybody else. You're yelling out into, well, if you got neighbors directly behind you, you might be impacting them. But I mean, you're not affecting anybody else's mood or day or anything like that. And you're getting yourself a little bit of release and getting some of that out. And it always worked for me. And I actually did it one day on the cruise ship when Kathy wasn't in the room. I actually opened up the balcony door and I stood on the balcony and I just hollered out into the ocean very loudly. And then I felt great. And it didn't hurt anybody. It didn't impact anybody. It was there. I checked first to make sure nobody was on either side of me. But I yelled, but nobody heard me. And I felt great after that. And let's see, Always Learning says, there's no escaping it. I deactivated my Facebook account for a week and it is heaven. It is, so you get away from the Facebook, right? And I know that I unfriended a lot of people, or unfollowed, I guess is the word. I unfollowed a lot of people, and a lot of them are my own family members. And just because I don't want to see their toxic, craziness that, I just especially from some of these people, I've known my whole life, and then what happened that they're all of a sudden like this? They were never like this before. What all of a sudden made them start spewing stuff that I've never seen them spew before. But I just try to, remember in my head that I just need to be kind, and I try to give them some grace. And I just say, I don't want to see what they're doing. I don't want to see what they're saying, and I just ignore it. I mean, there's days I don't even look at, I keep my parents, I follow their stuff. And you know what the main reason I follow my parents for is because sometimes they're off gallivanting around the world, and that's my easiest way to do a quick check to see if they're posting stuff, right? That's kind of like, all right, they're good, they're posting. And then I go away. But it's hard right now, right? It's hard for everybody. And see, Always Learning said, I was using Facebook as a procrastination tool, and it became a bit addictive. And there's still too much on there I'd rather not read about, no matter how I set up feed. Yeah, I get that. I find myself sometimes scrolling through things, and I used to use Facebook as that procrastination tool as well. But what I started doing now is Reddit. I get in Reddit holes. At least it's a little healthier because I'm reading about things that I need to know about. But I get in these big, huge Reddit deep dives where I'm like, what kind of zippers are on this backpack? It's, I don't want that one because it doesn't have the XYZ zipper on that one. I get down these rabbit holes. I guess that's probably a lot healthier, right? Then you going to bed?
Yeah.
Night.
Night, everybody.
Kathy says night, everybody.
I'm exhausted.
She is exhausted, and so she's going to bed with her, have creamy dreams and figuring out new pints. She's going to watch the YouTube. She's going to watch Alaska videos to see what we're going to be missing if we don't do excursions. We have a couple excursions, but we didn't go hog wild with it because it looks like in Alaska trips that you can go way, way over budget real quickly with excursions. So keeping it low key trip. But yeah, so Reddit is my new if you've never used Reddit, it's like a community forum for any single thing that you could possibly think about. I'm in one about my car. Like when I was getting ready to buy my car, I was in this deep dive, like just I knew everything, but I probably knew more about the car than the dealer did by the time I went to get the car. And like backpacks, there's this whole thread about backpacks. There's this one that Kathy sent me today that's called The One Bag, right? And it's all about people and what travel bag they have that they pack. They take that one bag and they have everything they need in that one bag. And I'm like, that's impossible. If you guys saw how we traveled, like we have really pared it back a lot to when we first started traveling, but we are ridiculous. Like I'm ridiculous. I take more stuff than she does. But we would have 3 suitcases, like each in some situations. So it's like we needed to pare that back. And then we got it back to where we just had 2 each. And then this last trip, we had 1 suitcase each that was ours. And then we had a community suitcase, like that held all the accessories like pillows and things like that. But, so yeah, we get in these deep dives about all this kind of stuff. And then I don't even know what other ones I'm in. Like, what's the other one that I'm in? I'm just like random stuff. Litter Robot, AT&T. What was the other one that I was in recently? Oh, I can't. Virgin Voyages one. That one gets really crazy sometimes. Like all the different cruise lines, I'm in all their different ones, and I hear all these stories, and I'm like, wow, you know. And I guess that's healthier for me than reading the news. Maybe there's usually always something crazy in one of them, but yeah, I mean, I take these deep dives and I get my mind off of all the other stuff, and then I just like insanely like focus, like obsessively focus on whatever the current thing I'm researching is. And it takes me out of the world and into the world of whatever I'm focusing on at the time. And I find that it's helpful for me to focus on something like that. Like one night I was really anxious and I don't know, I was having a really rough time that night. I can't even remember what had set me off, but I was anxious to the point where I was like chewing and just, I couldn't sit still. And I was super, 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 super anxious. And then I finally was like, oh, I should look for flights for a trip that we're doing in November. And, 4 hours later, I'm still looking at flights and prices, and like you can go down these deep dives into stuff. But I felt better. And then I had this clear idea of what I needed to do and a plan for flights. And I felt better because I took all that energy, that craziness, and just focused it in something positive. And I think the message that I kind of want to send out today is we need to focus all this energy into positive things that help us and maybe help others too. And Summer says, I love this message. And Always Learning says, yes, kindness is contagious, and I try to spread it everywhere. It's so important, so important that we spread kindness, because that is the best way for us to show our neighbors. Like maybe our neighbor doesn't think the same way we do, but their garbage pail turned upside down. You can go over there and pick it up for them and pick up the trash that fell on the ground, put it in there and roll it back into their driveway for them. That's showing a little kindness. And then they're going to be like, hey, those kids are okay over there. So I think that it's important that we just take time to do things. Like we were at a store yesterday. Was it yesterday? No, it was the day before yesterday. We had to run some errands, and we went to the store, And as we were walking up to the store, we had just crossed over like where the cars go to the curb where the store door is. And there's this lady trying to come out of the store with 2 suitcases. And she's trying and she's trying and she's trying. There's 5 people standing inside that store around that door, and no one was helping her get those out the door, including a security guard who's just standing there. So I ran up and I got the door for her and I helped her get the things out. And she was like, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much." And I was like, "You're welcome." And then I'm looking at these other guys like, this woman was struggling and y'all just stood there and totally ignored it. And it just, I kind of was like, how do you do that? Especially a security guard who's standing there. I mean, I'm sorry. I used to be a security guard when I was younger. And one of the things that they always like put on us was, always be kind to the people. Like if somebody needs help doing something, help them. It gives you good, it gives the whole security company a good reputation if we're known to be helpful and polite and not complete buttheads. And so I think I learned a lot at that job too about people. So I really think that security guard should have taken 2 seconds to turn around and hold that door with his big arm so that she could get those things out instead of her trying to hold the door and pull those out. And the suitcases were as big as she was. She was a little tiny petite woman and had these 2 giant suitcases that came up to her armpits. So, I mean, this was just, it was obvious. It wasn't like it was something that somebody missed. She was really struggling and making noise and banging those things around. So I was a little disappointed in the security guard for sure. And Always Learning says, because of her neighbor, she'd have to scream into a pillow or in my car with the windows up. Hey, don't discount being in the car with the windows up. There's been lots of screaming from this house in a car with the windows up. There's a lot of times that Kathy and I will go and she'll get on like, I don't know, I call it happy TikTok. I don't know. Somehow she is on happy TikTok where all she gets is puppies and kittens and positive things. And so we'll sit in the driveway in the car while she plays happy TikTok things for like 30 minutes to an hour. We'll just sit there in the car and laugh and watch these things. And then we get in the house and we're just like, wow, that was great. We feel great now. Sometimes you just gotta, comedy's another thing. Comedy can just really like, if big gut laughs. Laughing is medicine, right? How many times have you heard that? Like, just get yourself laughing. Laugh so hard at something that you cry. Like that, it just, you're laughing so hard that you got tears coming out of your eyes. And it's just, you feel it from your gut all the way up. And then when you're done, you just like, wow, that was a great laugh. And then you're happy, like you are extremely happy for an ongoing period of time after that. And I think comedy is a great thing. If you watch some comedy on television, just look up comedy and see if you can find a good, funny movie with somebody that you like in it. There's always, classic stupid movies you can watch, like Talladega Nights. I mean, how can you not laugh at that movie? Like, that movie's just hilarious. And things like that. Let's see, Boomer's here. And Angela says, welcome aboard the Italian team. We let it out. No hypertension over here. I think I think that's good. Like, I always am like, wow, like some cultures are just very loud, right? And I think I'm just starting to understand that that's just like, they get it out, right? They put so much emotion into what they're talking about. They put so much emotion into everything. And I think that's wonderful. I come from a family that was kind of quiet that way. They didn't really like make big gestures and loudness and stuff. The only time my family gets would get loud was when we would be all together at a holiday, and then everybody be talking blah 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 blah, and that's when we would get loud. But nobody was like on their own. Nobody was really a loud talker. We didn't have any loud talkers in our family on either side. Well, on my mom's side, we had a couple loud talkers. My Aunt Lottie, she was a very, very loud talker, and she was hilarious. Like, I remember one time at Christmas, and we were all sitting around, and she was going on and on about this. She kept talking about Polish Lottie this and Polish Lottie that. And I was so confused because they're all Polish. And I'm looking around and I said, why do you call her Polish Lottie? Because you're all Polish. And she looked at me and she said, because she just got off the boat. She's from Poland. And I said, but you're all from Poland. And she goes, but she just got off the boat. And I was like, okay. And I was trying to figure out how they determined like who was who, but I guess it was just, nicknames. That's how they gave people nicknames. But she was the loudest probably member of that family. And she was very animated when she talked with her hands and all that kind of stuff too. So I miss her. She was a lot of fun. And let's see. Lots of comments. I like it when you guys say hi to each other. And Angela says, I'm on social media much less. It's why I decided to pursue on-site work, and I'm thrilled it's falling into place. I'm so happy for you, Angela. That is so awesome. And also, y'all, Angela's going to be on with us at the end of this month, and we'll get some more information out about that. It'll be after we come back from Alaska, and you guys will get the notice. I think we're doing it on that last Friday of the month. I can't remember for sure. I think it's the 30th maybe. But we'll get all that squared away, and we'll get it on the calendar onto the Heartbeat calendar and stuff so you guys can see it. And it will be great. I think we're going to do, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Angela, but I think we're going to do the one that we had to skip for the yoga for constipation, I think is what we're going to do, which I'm very interested in right now because I've been having some of those issues lately, which is weird because I rarely have that issue, and I have lately. So Kathy's got me taking magnesium at night, which has helped tremendously. So I'm just sticking with the magnesium for now. Let's see. And always learning, which is Sandy, right? Let's see if you guys can't see that real good. I've transferred my addiction to all the YouTubes I've been wanting to watch, and it's healthier. Yeah, that's what Kathy's been doing. Like, Kathy used to get on her iPad at night, and she would sit in the bed, and she would you could just tell she was just scrolling through Facebook, and then every now and then you'd hear, and I was just like, why are you even looking at that stuff? Because you're not going to be able to go to sleep. And then she'd be up till 2-3 o'clock in the morning, up and down, because then her mind's going, she can't sleep. And so once she decided to start watching just like YouTubes of stuff, like Canada and Alaska and all these kinds of things, and then Europe stuff, because, we're going to Europe in the summer. And so just trying to get information on all these things and things that we might want to see or things that we might want to do is now taking all that time for her. And it's been helping a lot more. She's been going to sleep like that now. Let's see. And Angela says, I've seen several versions of the one bag. It's incredible what they can travel with in the one bag. I can't do it. Like, I sat there and I pared down for this last trip. Like, you have no idea how much I pared down for the last trip. Because I was like, we got Deep Blue Extra. We get a bag of laundry. I don't have to take so much. So I pared way down from our last trip to this one. I was like, I can take half the amount of stuff I took on the last one. So I pared all my stuff down. And Kathy said, just put it all out and then I'll put it in the zipper bag things for you, the compressive bags. And I said, okay. I still had to take a big suitcase and she took a little suitcase. Still. And I'm like, and I took half the amount of stuff I did the last time. So I'm like, I still am trying to pare this down. Like, I don't know how much more I can pare it down. I'm having a really hard time. Maybe I just don't have the right size suitcase because maybe we need something in between what we have, maybe. But then Kathy doesn't like the suitcase that I have that I feel like is in between because it doesn't have 4 wheels. It only has 2 wheels. And she feels like that's too hard to drag through the airport. So I'm like, but I'm the one dragging it, so maybe I might take that one this time to Alaska just so I have a little extra space. Well, and then the other thing is too, because we got to carry our pillows with us. But we got those coop pillows that we told you guys about before, and they smush down like really flat. So because of their memory foam, like you can put them on top of everything in your suitcase and just kind of tuck them in the side and then lay on top of it for a minute and it just squishes down to nothing. And then you zip it up real easy and you're ready to go. But when you open that thing up, well, that thing goes pow. It looks like, when you get one of those mattresses in the box. That's what it looks like coming out. All of a sudden your pillow's going rah out of the suitcase. It's kind of funny. But they're very comfortable and I like them a lot. And now I can't travel without a pillow because now I'm that traveler. Sandy says, was at a local grocery store and 2 checkout lines were open. I went to the line with 4 people waiting because the one with 1 person waiting is a cashier who is always in a nasty mood. Right? And so you want to avoid that. And it looked like other people probably wanted to too. I don't want to be the person that everybody goes, oh, they're always mean and nasty and I don't want to be around them. I would rather be the person that they always go, oh, that person's very kind, and if I ask her for help, she'll help me. And so that's where I'm at. And Lisa says, I love the feeling of laughing so hard that I cry. I wish I did it more. I do too. There's just something about it. Like, I don't know. It also brings back feelings for me of when I was younger. Like, my grandfather could make me laugh until I cried just with funny faces. And I don't know, I just can remember being with my family and just laughing that hard and telling me stories. And I would just start laughing that hard and stuff. And I think storytelling is another thing that's really good. I feel like if you can find some good storytellers that tell good like stories about their family or something in a comedic way, you'll usually find one that'll make you gut laugh. I actually have a cousin who does comedy books, and his name is Michael W. Harris, and he has done some comedy writings that are, I think they're available on Amazon, and I can't remember exactly, but they're actually stories about people in my family, and so I get a real gut laugh out of most of those because I actually know the people he's talking about, and I can just picture some of the situations even more. But he's a good comedian. He's a good guy. He's also a guitarist, a very good guitarist, and he's much older than me. When I was in the 6th grade, I believe it was the 6th grade, the public school teachers in Toledo went on strike. And so I didn't have to go to school. So, of course, my parents both had to work. So they shipped me up to Michigan to my grandmother's house. My grandmother lived across the street from a school where Michael was actually the 6th grade teacher. It was either 5th or 6th grade, but he was the teacher. And so they actually would let me go sit in his classroom for part of the day. it was just a special thing that they worked out just so that I could feel like I was still at school. So they let me do that for like, I don't know, 2-3 days. And then it was time for me to head back home, and the strike was over. But I really had a good time doing that. And it was kind of fun to be taught by your cousin. It was weird, but it was fun. And Sandy said, the person in front of me said I won't go to her line either. I hadn't said anything, but clearly that's why we were all in the other longer line. Small town, kind of know a lot of people, yeah. And Summer said, my dad gave literally everybody a nickname. Yeah, my Uncle Randy was the person who gave most of us nicknames in our family. So he passed away last year. And one of the things that all of us wrote on his Facebook page after he passed away was the fact that we all had our family names because of him. He was the one that gave us all those names. And Sandy's saying, does someone stay at the house to keep the kitties company? Yes. And for the times that somebody is not staying at the house 24 hours, we do have people that come through on a rotation and check on the cats every day. Somebody comes and plays with them and checks on them and stuff. But we try whenever we can to have somebody stay here physically with them. And for this next trip, somebody will be here every day with them until we get back. So that'll be nice. And then we have friends that also pick up, where we need to fill in and stuff like that. But we are also considering getting another sitter for during July and August to fill in when the person who stays here cannot be here. So we're kind of looking at that too. And we also have another friend who's kind of like family. She's kind of like Kathy's sister / mom, however you want to look at it. She's known her since she was 18 years old, Claire. And Claire comes here and stays a lot too with the kitty. She likes to come. It's kind of her getaway. It's kind of like her little vacation away from home. She comes over here and spends the night with the cats and watches TV and doesn't let nobody can bother her. She just sits here and watches TV and enjoys herself. So we have her around a lot too. And Angela says, yes, it's Friday the 30th and it's the restorative yoga for constipation. She says he'll take care of it. I have to be careful how much I rehearse it. That's funny. Plants Only Muncher says, you and Kathy seem to be addicted to cruising. How many cruises have you been on? Did you go on the NHA cruise already? How was the vegan food on that cruise? I don't think we didn't do an NHA. We did the holistic holiday cruise, and we went on that in March. Food was as you would expect. Everything, there was a vegan option. There was a no oil option for a lot of things, which was really cool to have a no oil option. The buffet was your standard buffet, but with more plant-based foods on it. We have a video on it. We weren't exactly like overjoyed, but the problems that we had on the holistic holiday cruise, that was not the holistic holiday problems. That was MSC cruise problems. And the reason we say that is because 2 weeks before that, we had been on the sister ship of that exact same cruise on a girls' weekend with a friend. And all the problems that we had on that ship carried over to the holistic holiday ship. And it was just things like them closing the buffet early, just not having spoons by the oatmeal or not having any bowls and not replenishing stuff when they would run out. If there was like 30 minutes left of the buffet, they would just not replace stuff. And it was like, hello, Like, you need to be replacing this up until the time you close because people are still coming down, or people are coming out of an exercise class and they want to be able to eat. And so we found that a little kind of problematic, but that was the same thing we dealt with on them when it wasn't the holistic holiday cruise too. But it was very fun being around all the holistic holiday people because it was great being around like-minded people. We met up with a bunch of McDougallers on there, and it was fun. And that one complaint that all the McDougallers had on that cruise was the fact that no time at any point in time on that cruise were we able to get a baked potato. Not a single baked potato that whole entire time. None. We got all the brown rice we could hold, but we could not get a baked potato. And when somebody mentioned to them, hey, we would like to have baked potatoes, the next day we were presented with mashed potatoes. Granted, they were made vegan, so they were okay. But everybody was kind of like, I just would like to have a baked potato, please. And that just wasn't happening. So it was kind of crazy. Let's see. How many cruises have we been on? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 since December of last year. I don't know. We go on like 2 a month is what it seems like. We were on 3 last month because it was Kathy's birthday. So we snuck in an extra one at the end there because Kathy's birthday. I wanted to do it up. So we did a Disney cruise for 3 days in the concierge level, which was her birthday present. And it was very fun. It was very fun. But I'm going to have to tell you, lots of similarities between the Disney cruise and the Virgin cruise. The Disney cruise has kids. The Virgin cruise does not. The sail away party noise level is higher on the Disney cruise than it is on the Virgin cruise. The energy level matches perfectly. Both of them have the same sail away party energy, except one has a happenings cast and the other one has a furry stuffed happening cast. And they all dance and they get everybody all wound up. Same thing. So then I was laughing with our travel agent about that. I said, hey, it's just basically a Virgin cruise just with kids. And she was laughing about it. And then we went to Pirate Night. And then I was laughing even more because they give us these red and black bandanas to wear like over our heads, like pirate bandanas. And they have like Pirate Mickey on them and stuff like that. And they have Pirate Night. Pirate Night started at 10:15. Scarlet Night starts at 10:30. On Pirate Night, everybody had on red and black. On Scarlet Night, everybody wears red. And it was loud. And there was a show with dancers and singers and everything on the Disney ship, just like on Scarlet Night. The difference was there was less drinking on the Disney cruise. Well, let me roll that back. There were no kids drinking on the Disney cruise. However, all the adults seemed to be having a good old time. And it actually, the volume level is less on the Virgin cruise than it was on the Disney cruise. So the Disney cruise to us actually was like almost more of a party for Pirate Night than Scarlet Night, which is hard to believe if you've seen any of my videos on Scarlet Night. So, but it's true. Like I can direct, like it was like 1-to-1 compare. Like I just kept laughing because I just standing there and there's all these, and everybody's like, these kids are jumping up and down and they're screaming because here comes, Jack Sparrow swinging through the air and they're all screaming. And I just looked at Kathy and I said, it's Scarlet Night. And she started laughing. But we did have a good time on that, though. It was fun. I was like, where else can you go feel like a complete kid? It was her 60th birthday. They decorated her room like they would for a small child, right? She had all the celebrate and birthday decorations and everything. It was very, very fun. We had a great time. Let's see. And Summer says, sometimes Instagram clips make me laugh so hard that I cry. And, find the thing that makes you laugh until you cry, because it's so releasing. It really just feels good. And Sandy says, my mom always got the two of us laughing so hard we couldn't stop. Not necessarily trying to be funny, which made it even funnier. Sure miss her and that. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes my mom and I get rolling about stuff too. Let's see. Caroline, I'm not sure I'm in awe in my sister. Maybe you type that a little bit later. Let me check here. And Sandy says that's a lot of cruising. Yeah, we've had well, and we've done 2 celebrity, 2 MSC, 4 Virgin, and a Disney. So 9 cruises. We've done 9 cruises. All right, Angela, good night. We'll see you later. And Plants Only Muncher says, does NHA have an all vegan cruise with speakers? I thought that is the cruise you've been on and got cheaper. I don't think NHA is the holistic holiday. Where's my phone? Oh, I don't have my phone. Let me look on here real quick. I think that's a different one, but they do have vegan cruises. Because I think one of our house sitters might have just done that. Let's see. NHA. That's the NHA cruise. That's what I want to put in. National Health Association, plant-based travel. Okay, the Holistic Holiday is different than the National Health Association. And the National Health Association also has cruises. We have not been on one of those, but one of our cat sitters has been on several of those and has loved them. Actually, she just got back from, were they in Tahiti? I think they were in. I can't remember exactly, but yeah, like they have lots. They like the Holistic Holiday one, just does Caribbean stuff, but they're adding an Alaska one this fall. That's going to be kind of awesome because it's not going to be on MSC. It's going to be on a Princess cruise. And Kathy and I were sad that we already had trips booked and we can't do that one, because we would have been really interested to see the difference, like how much difference it makes being on a different cruise line. And I think it's going to make a huge difference, just because you're going to get rid of what the standard MSC kind of issues are. This particular group, they go to places that are like, let's see, they went to Costa Rica and Panama Canal last February, Tuscany last May, Iceland last August. They went to Tahiti in February of this year, and they went to Italy and the Dalmatian coast in March of this year. And so it'll be interesting to see what they have for next year. And they do Windstar cruises, and those are usually smaller ships. And so it's a little bit more intimate kind of thing. And let's see. And I think that they're very small amounts. Like I think that the amount of people is much smaller. Like there were 1,600 people on the Holistic Holiday one. And this one, it may be less than 20 or right around 20. It's kind of hard for me to tell from here. I think it depends on which one it is, how many people it's open to. But it looks like they are doing, in May, they're doing Tuscany. In July, they're doing Norway, the Norway fjords, which we are actually doing, but not with them, in August. In looks like July, they're also doing Scotland and Ireland. Ooh. And they are doing for the fall, or for the winter, I guess fall, winter, October, November timeframe. And it looks to be sold out. They're going to Botswana, South Africa, and across land. That looks amazing. 2026, they're going to be doing an Antarctica trip. Wow. And it looks like that one's currently sold out. And then they're doing Osa Peninsula, Costa Rica, and land travel in March of 2026. They're going to do Paris in July. Oh, and Japan in October of 2026. Now, that is someplace that Kathy really wants to go to, is Japan. So I'm going to have to tell her about that, because this may be a nice way for us to do that and make sure that we can eat good and stuff. We were thinking about going to Japan with a friend of ours that went to school there, so we could have a translator, but it's kind of hard to get all our schedules together. But this could be nice, because then we would be with a group and we wouldn't have to worry so much about figuring out where to eat and things like that, which is really the greatest part about going with a group like that, right? I mean, at this point, most of us have already we've already heard all the doctor's messages and things like that. It's great to see them in person. It's great to get it, revisit it and things. But a lot of what was going on that holistic holiday cruise was the just sheer socializing, being around people with like minds, getting to know new friends, meeting up with old friends. There are people that have went to every single holistic holiday cruise that there has been that were on that cruise. And, they just meet up with each other every year, and that's the time they spend together, and they're all really good friends. We made great friends that we're going to actually see this week, that are from Seattle, that we're going to get to spend some time with before we go on our Alaska cruise. So I'm really looking forward to that. And they're going to give us a little tour around Seattle. Let's see. And Sandy says, it's like you went on your first cruise and could not stop. No, it's basically, we went on our first cruise to make sure that we wouldn't get sick. And then Kathy said, let's start a travel channel. And then we said, okay, let's do it. And so we've been just traveling, and that's what we've been doing. And we have hours and hours and hours of content that I still am trying to get stuff up all the time. And it takes me hours sometimes to do these videos, but I am determined to sit down and try to do one a day is what I've been doing. And I missed today, but I have been working on those. Let's see. And Colleen Patrick Goudreau, she has Japan, Tuscany, North Italy, Galapagos, relatively small groups. I think, is she the one? Miyoko also was doing a Japan trip, I think, this year. A small group, Miyoko Skinner, from Miyoko's Cheeses. And she had a couple trips that she's done. We were actually looking at going on the Japan trip with her at one point. But I think it was during a time that it wasn't going to work for us, or it was last year maybe. I can't remember, but the timing didn't work out good. And so now we have a little bit more flexibility. We have lots of travel planned. We have Europe in July and August, and then we have a break for a little bit, and then we have a Halloween cruise, and then we have a new ship that's coming out by Celebrity that we're going to go on in December. And then before that, we're going with some of our friends from the Chapel Hill Plant Pod here, who we're also going to Alaska with the end of this week. We're going with them again on another cruise to Barbados and someplace else in November. So, and it'll be fun traveling with our Plant Pure Pod people. So we're going to have a good time doing that. Let's see. And Sandy was saying the Joyful Vegan or Compassionate Cook were previous names. This is one of the first vegan author cookbooks I found. We know Colleen. She's a friend of Kathy's. I'll have to have Kathy talk to her about that. I know she's done a lot of travel stuff because they've talked about it. About how she eats on the road and stuff like that. Yeah, and the thing is, once you get on these trips and you make friends and stuff, it's kind of like it's fun to go. It's fun to do things. We have another friend from the McDougall community that we travel a lot with on cruises, and you see her a lot on our threads or in the chat. Sometimes she'll pop in. That's Elizabeth, and we travel with her a lot. We've traveled with her and her family earlier this year, and we have a great time. And we go to really cool places that we never thought that we would ever go to. So the thing is, we're not getting any younger. We both have a travel bug. I never thought I would ever hardly get to travel at all. I thought that I would just, because of the way my job was and the kind of stuff that I did, and I couldn't be that far away for very long and things like that. I never thought I could go out of the country. So, this is kind of like my second chance at travel kind of thing. So I'm taking advantage of it and going and just seeing the things that I've always wanted to see and the places that I've always wanted to go. And I find cruising to be I like the idea of unpacking once and then the boat moves me to the different places and I don't have to keep moving from place to place. I also, I like feeling like I can just go down to the buffet and have breakfast whenever I want. I don't you have to go within a certain time frame, but I can sleep in late if I want to. I can get up early if I want to. And I like having that flexibility. When we first started doing cruises, we kept trying to do everything and trying to film everything and trying to just do it all. And it was exhausting. It was completely exhausting and we weren't really enjoying ourselves. But we've learned how to actually just live and also enjoy ourselves while we're doing it. And I like it. I'm a Pisces. Put me near the water and I'm happy. I love it. And Sandy says, don't you feel like you miss out on a lot you would visit if you weren't on a cruise? No. And here's the thing. It all depends on your attitude about things. And so we weren't doing excursions at first because most of the places we were going, we were on just little short trips. And most of those places we were going, just get off and just walk around a little bit and okay, we're good. And then we started doing some excursions and getting to see the land more and getting to know people that from there and we started understanding a little bit more about, we learned more about culture. We learned more about things. And we started to like kind of embrace that kind of stuff. But one of the things Kathy has always said is, a lot of this, you kind of look at it as, we look at it as a preview. It's our preview trip. So the places that we really, really like and that we think that we would like to someday spend more time at, then we can go back and do another trip and spend more time there. For instance, San Juan. We really enjoyed Puerto Rico. We really enjoyed San Juan, and we didn't get to see hardly enough of it because the weather was not so great when we were there. It was raining a lot and stuff. I mean, hard. It was hard raining. It wasn't just like walk around with your umbrella and it's inconvenient. This was like buckets, and it was kind of hard to get around. And so we want to go back. So we're actually going back to San Juan on the cruise that we're going to do with our Plant Pod family people. We're going to leave out of San Juan. So we get to go into San Juan several days early and spend time in San Juan and kind of get to see some of the stuff that we wanted to see that we didn't get time to do the last time. Because there was like a kind of like a fort on a hill kind of thing that I wanted to go into, but it started raining so hard that we had to go get shelter out of the rain. So we never got back over there. And I want to see that in Old San Juan. And then I want to go to the newer part of San Juan too. So we're going to do that. We're going to spend several days there before we get on the cruise with them. And so that'll be really fun. And Jamaica, we met Nick, who we have a video up. He's a chocolate maker, and he's a great guy. And he just emailed me last night and said that they're working with Royal Caribbean to actually be official excursion group for the chocolate making. Would be they'd take you to a chocolate, where they have the cocoa beans, and then they take you to the chocolate factory and stuff as an excursion. And they're working with Royal Caribbean now to get that in place to be one of their official like excursions. And so that's great because we're going back next year in March, and we're hoping, and we'll be on Royal Caribbean then, and we're hoping that he'll have that in place so that we can do his excursion and give everybody a review of it and take lots of video and stuff for him. So, we've made friends. We couldn't wait to find another cruise. That I was like, where's our next cruise that goes back to Jamaica? Because we just enjoyed his company so much. And that's the kind of thing. And like, we met this wonderful lady in Honduras that took us, and it was an excursion, and we were the only two people who wanted to go. So it used to be, you couldn't even get a spot on these tours because of the sloths and the monkeys and stuff. And everybody wanted to hold the sloths and hold the monkeys and all that stuff. Well, the country said, this is not good for the animals. We don't want the tourists touching the animals anymore. They can still come and see them, but we don't want them holding them. We don't want them to be passed from person to person. But you can come look at them, kind of thing. So a lot of people, when they found out that they weren't going to be able to hold the sloths, all canceled their trips. And they were like, well, that's a waste of my time. I don't want to just go look at them. For Kathy and I, we're like, this is fantastic. We want to go see the sloths. We want to see the monkeys. We don't care if we can touch them or not, because, I mean, truth be told, Kathy's probably going to die petting something that she wasn't supposed to pet at some point. But we were happy with that. And they had big macaw parrots and stuff and everything. And so when we booked this excursion, it was just the two of us that booked it. And usually I feel like sometimes they cancel those if there's not enough people because the tour companies feel like it's just not enough worth our while. But this guy was like, sure. So when we got there, they had two different excursions that included the sloth and the monkeys tour. And one of them, they were going to go scuba diving and do all this other stuff. And it was like 5 hours. And then the one we were doing was only supposed to be like 2 hours. And it was just basically go see them and then come back to the boat. And we were like, perfect. That's all we want to do. So since it was just the two of us that wanted to do that, he actually just had one of his people put us in their car and just drive us. And so she drove us all over, and like told us so much information, told us so much about the island, the history, the mainland. Like it was just like so much that we were in Roatan, Honduras, and then the mainland of Honduras is kind of across the way. And she took us to where we could see where the mainland was out there far away. And then she was telling us about how the different cruise ports came to be and how they were working on making them better and all this kind of stuff. And that the travel industry was like their most lucrative industry right now. And they were talking about how many people live on the island that are like expats from other places and where on the island they live at. And she just gave us so much information. And of course she took us to see the monkeys and the sloths, and we couldn't hold them, but like we could sit on this bench and there was a sloth hanging like right above our head. Like we just couldn't touch it, but it would like come down and you could get your picture taken with it. Like it was, and we could see them in the trees. They were everywhere. And it was just fantastic. We really, really enjoyed that. And then they had like spider monkeys, and then they had the little, oh, I forget what they call the little monkeys, the little ones with the white face. Oh, they had a whole bunch of them, and they were hilarious. And they kept telling us like, don't get too close to the enclosure because take your glasses off, because if they'll reach out really fast and snatch your glasses, and then they'll run around and try to put your glasses on their head. So it's pretty funny. But they were actually hilarious. And then the birds that they had were beautiful. And some of them were like 60 and 70 years old, and they were just these giant macaws and stuff. And we had the best time. But we got to know this lady, Anna, and she was amazing and just told us so much. And we like having that connection with people. And then we started to realize, hey, we like these connections. We like going to places that show us a little bit more. So then we did a chocolate and rum tour in someplace else. I can't remember where that was. It was in the Dominican Republic. This was the second time we had been to that port. And that port is very touristy. They've actually built out a pool area, like a resort pool. And then they have like a lazy river that you can do and stuff. And so we were either going to stay on the ship or we were going to do an excursion. And then we decided to do an excursion, and we thought we were going to go to a chocolate plantation place and then a rum place. But what we ended up doing was going to the rum place, and then they took us to this beautiful like state park kind of place that had all these flowers and trees and things that are native to the island, and gave us history on the indigenous people who were there first and their culture. And there were statues like and things like that they showed us that were all in this, like they had a walking area and you could walk in the trail. And there were probably about 15 of us, I guess, on that one. And we had the best time. It was very hot, but we had the best time doing that. And then the other one that was pretty fascinating was when we went to Costa Maya, we went and did a Mayan ruin tour, and to one that I hadn't been to before. I think it's called Chacatan. We had been to Chichen Itza before, but we hadn't been to this one. And this one is like the newest one that they've discovered. And the way they have it set up and stuff for you to go, it's amazing. Like, I highly recommend that one. You can actually they've actually made steps and stuff. They've recreated some so that people can actually walk up on them. Like, you can't on Chichen Itza anymore because that stuff is so old. They don't want anybody on it, but they've recreated some. So there are some areas where you can actually walk up and things like that in this one. And there's one section where you walk up these steps and you think you're just going to this top to this flat area. But when you get up there and you look, there's 2 more temples up there that they've completely uncovered and that are just there, that they've completely excavated from the jungle. And it's really cool. So we like to feel all that, and we like to take in all that culture. And then we make little notes in our head about where we would like to go back to. And there's a couple places that we were surprised that we liked, like St. Croix. We really liked St. Croix. We had a great time there. We snorkeled and saw sea turtles. But St. Croix itself, we met these amazing people that have an animal rescue there. And they're so smart. They have this dog rescue. And what they do is they get all the dogs and stuff from the island, and they get them fixed, they get their shots and all this stuff, and then they bring them to this little area kind of downtown. Like, there was a sign that said puppies and cocktails, and Kathy was like, this seems like a scam, but I'm for it. So we went. And sure enough, there was a section where you could go sit in there and play with the puppies. And then right next door, there was a bar. And everything, all the proceeds from the bar went to support this animal rescue. So they're actually very smart, because now they've got the tourists coming in, playing with the puppies, playing with the dogs. You know, some of them were older dogs, some of them were puppies. And they were all different kinds of breeds and stuff. And then, you know, then you can go over and you can have a drink, right? And all that money, t-shirts, hats, koozies, all the stuff that they're selling, all the merch and everything goes to the animals. And then on top of that, if you see an animal that you just really like and you fall in love with one of those dogs while you're there, they will have that dog transported to you in the States. And they only charge $250 for the adoption fee, and that includes the transportation to the States. And what they have is all the people that live in St. Croix that are snowbirds. They get snowbirds to transport these animals back with them. And then they have people who are volunteers here in the States that go and they pick them up, and then they do the, like, you know, somebody takes this leg of the trip and somebody takes this leg of the trip and gets that animal to the home that it needs to go to. And there was actually a dog leaving the day that we were there, and the people were there to whisk it away to take it to Chicago. Somebody on a cruise ship had fell in love with that dog several weeks earlier, and so they were taking it to its new home. So it was actually pretty amazing. And I've thought about, when we're not traveling as much, I am probably going to volunteer to be a transporter in the States for them, because I think it's a worthwhile thing that they're doing over there. And ingenious, yes, as well. So there's a lot of creativity like that happening, and it just makes everybody, you know, smile. And people were just like buying drinks left and right, because they were like, oh, this goes to a good cause, let's go to a good cause. And so I was just like, this is genius. This is actually really, really smart. But we really enjoyed it. And the people, we've met some of the nicest people that run these kind of things. And, you know, I kind of talked to her for a little bit, and I'll probably put that video up probably in the next week or two, where we talk to her about the actual rescue and how they got started and how they work and all that kind of stuff. So, and yeah, I want to be able to spotlight people who I think are doing really good things in the world, or who make an impact to me. Because I feel like if they make such an impact on me, then they're for sure going to make an impact on somebody else. And I just want to share them with the world. And I also want to share that, you know, these places, like, a lot of these places, there's some there's a lot of poverty in some of these places, but these people, they still like, they seem so happy and just doing their thing. And I don't know, it's just a totally different way of looking at things. And I'm in awe every time that I meet someone new. and and a lot of them, like, have made me change my way of thinking on some things. And I don't even know how to word it, but it's just like, I realize, when you have lived in America your whole life and you've never been a lot of other places outside of the country, when you do go outside the country, you realize that things are really different other places. And sometimes you've been led to believe that these other places are just not places that you want to be, or are not good, or the people there are stupid, or it's not true. It's not true. We have met some of the most lovely, lovely people. And I just want to continue to do that. And I can't wait to get to Europe, because I know in Europe we're going to just meet some amazing, amazing people. And I've already booked us for the Warner Brothers tour, with the vegan tea. They actually have a vegan tea at the Harry Potter tour, and we booked that. And I know a lot of people are down on JK right now for her, just the stupid things that have come out of her mouth. And a lot of people choose to not support that franchise anymore. But the thing is, I feel like the franchise, yes, she wrote the books, but I feel like that franchise has actually become something else beyond her. And so, and I still think the ultimate, lessons in that story are good. Overheard a conversation on the Disney ship in the concierge lounge, where a guy was there with his wife and his sister and her girlfriend, and the nephew was there, and he was small. And they were talking about, different things that they wanted him to have morals, they wanted him to have good ethics and things like that. And they were talking about, well, they would like for him to experience church at some point, but they were very specific on what kind of church they wanted him to experience. They were looking at more of a Unitarian type thing, because they didn't want it to be any one specific religion. They wanted him to have that ability to choose for himself as he got older. And then they were talking about, they were nervous about trying to instill morals and ethics into this child. And one of the things they said was, one of the girls said, well, how do you feel you're going to let him read the Harry Potter stuff? And he was like, Harry Potter's a good dude, and he did good things, and his friends, and they had a lot of good messages. And he said, regardless of what's happening with her, I feel like it would be fine for my child to read that, because I feel like the messaging is going to be positive, and you do learn some ethics and some morals in there. So, and it was interesting to hear them talking about that when this child is like probably not going to be able to read for another 3 years, because he was tiny. But they were already trying to figure all that stuff out. And and then, just like when we went to the Wizarding World, I think, at the new Epic, it's, yes, she's said some very hurtful things, but there's also good that has come from the things that have been built out of that. And that's kind of where I'm getting with that. I mean, I don't like the things she said. I don't like the things she believes in. I think she's wrong on so many levels of things, but what has come from those stories, what those stories meant to me, I still have that. She created those characters, but they've taken on a life of their own in a way. And I like to see the happiness that the Harry Potter franchise brings people. If you go to Diagon Alley, if you go to Hogsmeade, if you go to the Ministry of Magic at Universal Studios, I have never not been there and seen someone moved to tears when they walk in and are immersed in it, because even I get goosebumps. I even got a little teary-eyed in the Ministry of Magic because it was exactly like being dropped in a movie set. Like all of a sudden I'm there, and it's like you feel like you're there. And the way they did that whole ministry thing is so magical. And you really do feel like you went through the Flu Network. I mean, it's the only thing they could have done better is somehow figured out how we could get flush down toilets. I mean, honestly, really, that's the only thing they could do better. But it's magical. And I like magical things, and I like kindness, and I feel like travel is a magical thing. And it takes you to places that you never imagined you could go to. Let's see. And Sandy was saying the dog's getting socialized and they're raising money for the rescue. Yeah, that is awesome. And she said, in sharing, that's also may inspire others to do similar and different things. Yes, exactly. And Sandy says the culture and local people anywhere I travel is always one of my favorite things. Even within the U.S., of course, we get a lot of international tourists, so I try to represent Americans well. Yeah, exactly. And like when we're there, we try, we try really hard to be as kind as we can. We try to ask questions that aren't inappropriate. We try to like lean into, let them teach us about their culture and things. In fact, when we were talking to Anna, when we were driving around, we were going past something and I said, "Oh, is that a grocery store?" And, cause I know just enough Spanish to be dangerous. And she was like, "Yes, it's a grocery store." And I said, "Oh, wow, that's cool." I said, "Sometimes when we're on vacation, we like to go to different grocery stores just to see what they have, like that we don't have at home." I said, we'll go to a town 2 hours away and see what their grocery stores have that we don't have. And she started laughing and she says, "When we're done with the monkeys, I can take you to the grocery store." She was like, "I'll take you to the grocery store if that's where you want to go. That'd be fun." And I was like, "Oh no, if we have time, maybe." But she took us on a tour of all this other stuff, and she was like, "We can still go to the grocery store." I was like, "No, no, 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 it's fine." But we went to a grocery store in San Juan, so that was fun. We also went to a Marshall's that was in San Juan. That was fun. It was a 3-story Marshalls. It was awesome. It was downtown in Old San Juan. We just had some really enjoyable times with this, and we try, we have our days when it's stressful and we get tired of looking at each other, but we've gotten much better about, giving each other the space and each other getting to do what they want to do. So a lot of times Kathy will get up and she'll take her computer and she'll go have coffee somewhere on the ship, and then I'll stay in the room and get up and I'll just start working in the room because I'm fine working in the room. If I can just look out the window, I'm happy. But she likes to get out and feel like she's going to like a coffee house or something like that, like she does here at home sometimes. So we have a good time. And we've got a lot of work to do, but we're getting to enjoy some of that too. We're learning to take it in and enjoy it, and kind of not be all work and no play kind of thing. And I think we did a really good job of that in the last month. When we did the back on Virgin, I think it was the first time we actually like both got to just kind of like live on a ship. It was kind of like, this is we're living here now, and this kind of had our spots and things like that. And then when we did the Disney thing, and then we did a lot of work while we were on the Virgin cruise. And then on the Disney cruise, then we were a little bit more of, this is more vacation-y because this is Kathy's birthday weekend, and this is more celebratory and things like that. And Linda says, my parents always impressed upon myself and my sisters in our travels that we were ambassadors of our country and to act accordingly. Exactly. It is so important. And I see some people that are acting so badly in places that I'm just like, oh my God, do you have no manners? Like, just and I hate to throw this word around because it gets thrown around so much, but it's a thing. And a lot of times, a lot of people throw their privilege around. And you see it a lot, especially once they get drinking and things like that. And it's embarrassing sometimes the way these people act. So we always go out of our way to make sure we show kindness and are polite and act accordingly, ask the right questions, interested in them, and not just like what you can do for me kind of thing. And our interactions with people have like been amazing because of it, right? I mean, you get what you give. Honestly, you get what you give, and that's in all situations. I think, we've said all the time on this channel, you give kindness, you get kindness back, right? So, follow the golden rule a little bit too, and it pays off. It really does. It pays off. We always kind of get a little bit more information or get an extra little bottle of water, or, here, have a slice of mango, like I just, it's kindness goes a long way. It really does. We've been lucky that there's only been one tour we've been on that had anybody that was nasty. And they were just, it wasn't that they were so nasty. It was that they were just drunk and loud and just kind of like all about themselves. But all the other tours we've met some of the most lovely people. We met this lovely couple from Edinburgh who gave us lots of great tips on traveling in Europe. And then we met this couple who had just gotten married from Pennsylvania, and they were just adorable. And they were on their honeymoon, and they were excited. And, that was on the Mexico trip when we went to the ruins, and they were so excited. And it was funny because, like, look at these, like, sometimes I look at people, I realize I'm old now because I look at those newlyweds and I'm like looking at them, I'm like, they're 15, 16, like something in there, but I know they were older. They were definitely in their late 20s, but I'm just looking, everybody looks 15 to me now. I think y'all know what I mean. And Sandy says, I live in a tourist town and we locals can get really annoyed with the tourists who don't pack out their trash, etc. and don't respect our nature, but I still try to be kind. Tahoe gets a lot of nasty tourists, but I still don't want to be a nasty local, right? And I grew up in tourist towns too. Like, I lived in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina for years upon years. And we used to call them tourons, which was a cross between a tourist and a moron because some of the stuff they did was just not, they would leave trash all over the beach. Um, there was one day when I was driving home from work, it was during like bike week. I was driving down 17 going to North Myrtle Beach. And as I was coming through that area between Myrtle Beach and North Myrtle Beach, it's kind of like this little lull area where Barefoot Landing and stuff is, there was just trash all over the road, all over the parking lots, just thrown everywhere, beer cans thrown everywhere. And it was just like food trash, like food bags, just like everywhere. And I was like, what is wrong with these people? Who do they think is going to pick all this up? And it was just unbelievable that it would just be, that people would just be like, oh, I'm just going to throw my trash here in this parking lot. People do it out here. It makes Kathy absolutely crazy. She's like, why do people throw out, like, we get bags with like food in them from like fast food places. We get little mini liquor bottles. We get a lot of mini liquor bottles out here on the side of the road. We get beer cans, stuff like that. And Kathy was like, I don't understand why they can't just go, obviously if they're turning here and going down our road, they're on their way home. They're close to their home. Why do they have to toss their trash out at our house? I don't know. Well, I have a theory that a lot of that is people who aren't supposed to be drinking, or it's teenagers and they're trying to get all the evidence out of the car before they get home. I was one of those teenagers, but at least I put it in a trash can at a gas station. But, they're trying to get all the junk out of the car that they're not supposed to have. Adults do that too. But there's a gas station a mile down the road that you probably turned right in front of to come down here. Why can't you put it in a trash can? Oh, I gotta be careful because it might turn into Tangent Tuesday real quick here. Let's see. Linda says, we observed many ugly Americans abroad who thought everyone should speak English and acted too entitled to special treatment. And that's exactly what we're seeing. We're seeing people be ugly to the people that speak a different language rather than try to communicate with them. And like, I grew up with people who spoke broken English. So hearing someone else speak broken English is not a big deal to me. I don't get upset about that. I don't get upset if somebody doesn't speak my language well. Like, I know on the cruise ships, a lot of people get upset with people who don't speak English well. And a lot of times they give the better paying jobs to the people who can speak better English, which is not fair because most of them honestly can speak enough English to get by. I have not been on a cruise ship yet that somebody cannot speak enough English to answer my question. And then even if they don't speak that much English, we usually can work out what we're trying to say to each other, and it's just being patient with each other. Sandy says that term is still used here in Flatlanders. Yeah. That's good. Yeah, I always want to be represented. I always want to represent the best of our people, right? So that's what I set out to do. Whenever I interact with other people, I try to do my best. And in fact, I know you guys have probably heard us say this before, but several times now, our room stewards have assumed that we are Canadian. And we have, in restaurants, people have assumed that we were Canadian. And I was like, first we were tickled because we were like, ooh, we're being so nice. They think we're Canadians. And then I was like, have the most of the American travelers gotten so bad that it's that just being nice means you're from somewhere else? I mean, that's kind of shocking in a way, because it hasn't just happened once. It's happened several times. So, makes you think, how bad are people acting? Well, and then you always see like people getting, they're starting to toss people off cruise ships. Like they're banning people for life left and right now. And Sandy says, I get those mini liquor bottles. I think it's alcoholics trying to do their secret drinking before they get home to the spouse. That's kind of what I was thinking too. Or teenagers doing their drinking before they get home too. And Sandy says, we get a lot of tourists who park right in front of no parking signs. I told some the other day at the beach, don't park there. Look at the sign. You'll be ticketed. Yeah. And so many were parked there, they didn't believe me. I was happy to see all the cars had tickets when I came home. Yeah. It's bad that we have to sit there and go, ooh, I hope they get a ticket, but sometimes that's how you feel. And Sandy says, I love that, being thought to be a polite Canadian. And it's true. Like all of our Canadian friends on here, everybody is polite, is kind. Like they get appalled by things that people do. And I mean, I love the politeness of the Canadians. And if people want to think I'm Canadian, I'm okay with that right now, because it just means that I'm being a good person and I'm treating other people with respect. So that is our goal for the week, my friends, is to treat other people as you would be treated, to treat everyone with kindness and respect, and do a little something for yourself to show a little respect to yourself. If you're kind of bummed out, go give yourself a good scream. Sit in your car, roll up the windows, scream, go out your back door, scream. Scream into a paper bag if you have to. But do whatever you need to give yourself some peace. Find something to make you laugh and laugh hard. Find like some movie that just is ridiculous and funny, and just watch that and laugh until your gut hurts. Because laughing until your gut hurts can heal a lot of stuff. And that, my friends, it's almost midnight, and I have to go take my cold medicine because my allergies have been like crazy, and I'm not going to be able to sleep if I don't take something. So that is my goal, to sleep without being stuffed up. And I will, next week, we will be on a ship on Monday. However, if we are in port or if we have good enough internet, I will go live at some point in the evening. If it doesn't look like I can go live easily, or if the internet's not good enough, what I'll do is I'll try to just record a message, and then I'll just try to upload that message. But if we're not having good internet, I don't know how well that's going to go either, because the last time I tried to upload something from the ship, it took 2.5 days. It was crazy. I was trying to get something to Jennifer Diamond, and like I kept trying to upload it. It kept trying to upload it. It kept trying to upload it, and it was just taking forever. So we'll see. They're all different. Sometimes we have really, really good. Sometimes we don't. The good thing is, if we're in port, we'll be in the U.S., so I feel like my AT&T should work pretty good in port somewhere. So we will try our best to go live from wherever we are. I think we might be in Juneau that day. And if we are, I think we're there till kind of in the evening. So we might be able to give you a little like sneak peek of Juneau while we're out there. So I look forward to seeing everybody. I look forward to hearing from everybody. Please, please, please take care of yourself. Put your mask on first. Make sure you're taken care of. And then you can help somebody else. And be kind. Try to make the kindness contagious instead of the negativity. And please, if you have time tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern, join us, please, for the Positivity Circle. It'll be right here on YouTube with Sangeeta. Sangeeta is an amazing person from our community. She does a lot in the vegan community here. Her husband is the head of the Triangle Vegetarian Association, which is basically a Triangle Vegan Association now, and is one of the heads of the Thanksgiving. It's one of the largest vegan Thanksgivings in the country. And she's just amazing. She has a beautiful singing voice, and she might even sing for us some tomorrow. She does great, beautiful singing with Sanskrit and things, and she's just a lovely person. So if you need some positivity in your life, come tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern, and Sangeeta will start out the Positivity Circle, and we can all get involved in that. So it was really great to see you guys. I miss you all so much. And everyone take good care of themselves, and I'll talk to you really, really, really soon.